right, what is up, everybody? Clint Esposito here with my man Rasmus. What's up?
What's up, everybody? What's
T-
up, Clint? How are you?
I'm very good. I actually just got home last night at about 10:30 from Florida, and then we're just going straight into podcasting this morning. So
Hell
keep it
yeah.
moving.
Always on the move.
That's right. So today we're going to talk about something that really doesn't get that much, that nobody talks about. Not nobody, a couple people obviously, but primary water, which is basically the theory that most of our water does not come from the sky, which is what we were told in school, right? All the water comes down, it evaporates, whatever happens in the clouds, and then it falls back down. But there's a theory that most of our water actually comes up from out of the ground. So that's what we're going to research a little bit today. I should have found Joe Rogan. Remember, he did a post that said that there was a ocean underground that was bigger than any of the ones on the surface.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
No, I didn't see that one specifically, but this dude from that primary water institute.org, he's saying that it might be 2 to 3 times the amount of water that we have on the surface, like what we thought we had.
Right.
So that's kind of crazy. Can I just read something, because the
Sure.
actual reason that I find this very interesting is, and I think you'd agree that some people are saying that there's a water crisis, right?
Right.
And so I don't know. I don't hear a lot about that on like the news or anything. I don't watch the news, but still, I don't hear about that as much as I hear about like climate change or anything. But I guess they're connected. So I looked and I went to worldwildlife.org, and so this is what it says basically. Uh, Water covers 70% of our planet. Uh, Blah blah blah. Only 3% of the world's water is fresh water, and 2/3 of that is tucked away in frozen glaciers or otherwise unavailable for our use. As a result, some 1.1 billion people worldwide lack access to water, and a total of 2.7 billion find water scarce for at least 1 month out of the year. And then on the end, it says, uh, at the current consumption rate, this situation will only get worse. By 2025, 2/3 of the world's population may face water shortages, and ecosystems around the world will suffer even more. Obviously, and they mention climate change as well. Uh, but I don't know. To me, and just because I'm kind of into the conspiracy side of it, it seems to me that in some places around the world they're trying to what's the word for it, privatize water,
Yeah. I mean,
which is scary.
and even the fact that we buy so much water, right?
Hmm.
Like people buying bottled water.
Yeah.
How come our regular water just isn't safe? Like especially people with wells. People with wells should be drinking their water, I would imagine. But they've just put that spin on it that it's bad. So no, people are trying not to drink it. But that's either way. If it came up from the ground or from the sky, like say it went through the sky. Let's just go under that premise. It's still done
Hmm.
osmosis and been basically evaporated and purified and then dropped back down to the earth. Do you
Yeah.
remember? This is a funny one. Do you remember when they had where they were trying to pitch us on acid rain?
E- Not vividly, but
You
I
guys
do
didn't have
know.
it that bad.
Not here, no, I don't think so.
Here in like I want to say the 80s because I was young.
Yeah.
They were like, "Oh, acid rain, this and that," and I'm like, even as a little kid, I'm going, "Wait, where is the acid coming from? Like, how is this water getting acidic?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
"So I'm not allowed to drink the? I can't like catch a cup of rain and then drink it, it's gonna be toxic to me. Like it doesn't make
Yes. Yeah, it makes no sense.
no
But
sense.
but like so where you're in Jersey or outside
Yeah,
Jersey? Hold on a second. Sorry about that.
it's all right. Yep, right outside of Jersey, but I'm in Jersey, but I'm like far enough out where we don't have public water either place that where my
Did I
parents.
disappear?
Well, you're just not in your frame,
Sorry.
but I hear you.
Hold on, I'll
Um,
be back. I
um,
forgot to put it to flight mode. Yeah, I was just gonna ask, like, do you drink your tap water? Is that fine to drink over there?
so we do here. We actually have a big. It's called a Berkey, and it's a big stainless steel water filter. So it holds like a couple of
Mm-hmm.
gallons, 2 3 gallons, and you pour it in the top, and it just goes through these big charcoal filters, and that takes. Those are supposed to take out like tons of pesticides and all that type of stuff. So we do drink our
Uh-huh.
tap water, but we do send it through a filter system. My parents' house, we never really drank the tap water. We did a little bit, but then again, everybody was told that the tap water was bad, yada yada. So um, we stopped. But either way, even if you're talking about groundwater, right? Like I'm talking about getting this water and then running it through a filtration system, which is essentially what the earth does it not? Like say you have a well and the water gets osmosis, rains down, and then it has to go through the dirt to get down to the well
Yeah.
level. It's still been purified again or filtered out again by the earth.
By
Obviously,
nature.
yeah, but obviously, unless you have, contaminants or whatever. But even the water shortage thing is funny to me here, and you might be the same way. Like, honestly, the water shortages could only even be in certain places like California, Arizona, and like Nevada. Because
Is
here,
that where it doesn't rain?
yeah, exactly. Because here
Yeah.
we literally have a stream running on like, we're in between two streams, like, converge in our backyard here.
Yeah.
So people are like, you're wasting water. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Because, I'm going to drink it or whatever. Say you even dump it out into the yard. What's going to happen? It's going to return to the groundwater.
Yeah. It goes back into
Even if I pee it out, guess
yeah.
what? It's going to get filtered, evaporate, go back into the system. So it's like, unless we're losing water, I don't understand how there's a water shortage anyway, other than the places where they built entire cities in a friggin' desert, which already seems problematic.
Yeah. I think because I was watching something on YouTube where they were trying to explain the water crisis, and they were saying, like, you know how many liters of water it takes to make one cup of coffee? It was like 140 liters or some shit like that. I guess because they include then how much water you need to create the machine that creates that they include everything.
Yeah,
And the same, they were even saying that agriculture was like one of the most wasteful things for water. And I'm like, dude, agriculture is what we live off of. How can that be wasteful? Like, the animals need water,
right,
the plants need water. Like, that's the one thing we should be spending water on if there was like a shortage.
right.
And
No, well,
just a lot of shit that doesn't make sense.
bugs don't need that much water, Erasmus. So if we just start
Well,
eating
yeah,
bugs, then we can save the planet's water.
that's what's up, man. I'm gonna start some fucking actually, I'm gonna interview a guy on my show in maybe I think it's next week, and he made like a cricket protein bar
He's
for
part of the
real. Like,
problem, Rasmus. He's part of the problem.
he might be, I don't know, but he was an interesting character in either way. But
He works for
uh,
Big Bug.
maybe he does. I don't know. Who works for Bill Gates? Who knows? But
um,
yeah, I don't know. It's weird as fuck. But yeah, I was gonna say because what we've been told in Sweden, like since I was a kid, our tap water is like, now this is only what I've been told, right? So I don't know if it's true, but our tap water is like the cleanest you can get
Yeah.
for
I
some
would,
reason. And the water, and actually, if you travel, like when we leave Sweden and travel, there's a significant difference in taste.
yeah, I'm
Like I
sure.
lived in Australia, and to drink the tap water there was completely different from drinking it here. But I don't know what the reason for that is. I guess the ocean here or the lakes here are not well, it's not salt water. So maybe they don't have to. I don't know how it works. Maybe
I would
they don't have to
imagine.
put as much shit inside of it.
Yeah, exactly. Guys probably aren't polluting like we are. Maybe I'm not really sure. I mean,
Yeah.
like even think about the whole train thing again. Like
Ohio.
yeah,
Yeah.
all that groundwater around there is probably screwed.
It's fucked. Yeah.
So I mean, unless you're in a scenario like that, I would say that your well water should be fine. And if your well
Yeah.
water under a scenario like that, if your well water is not fine, well, what is the cause? Maybe we should stop polluting whatever it is. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
so I got an article pulled up about the underground ocean. Scientists discover water deep within Earth. An international research team led by, I'm gonna say that's Gautier
Yeah.
or Goth. I'm pretty sure it's not American word. University professor analyzes diamond inclusions. I don't know what that has to do with water. The boundary layer between the upper and lower mantles of the Earth is known as the transition zone. It is located between 410 and 660 kilometers, between 255 and 410 miles under the surface. Jeez. The olive green mineral olivine, commonly known as peridot, which makes up around 70% of the Earth's upper mantle, changes its crystalline structure at the extreme pressure of up to 23,000 bar in the TZ, which is what they say, that transition zone, at a depth of around 410 kilometers. At the upper edge of the transition zone, it changes into denser wadsolite, and at a depth of 520 kilometers, it transforms into even denser ringwoodite. These mineral transformations greatly hinder the movement of rock in the mantle, explains Professor Frank Bernker from the Institution of Geoscience. For example, mantle plumes, rising columns of hot rock from the deep mantle, sometimes stop directly below the transition zone. What does this have to do with water? Where are we getting to water?
Yeah. I was gonna say, could you speak English, please? I
Yeah.
didn't get any of that, man. That was crazy.
They were explaining how low the water is, but I don't know why they're talking about diamonds here. Uh, water rich, if these smaller water rich mantle plumes now migrate further upward and break through the boundary of the upper mantle, the following happens. The water contained in the mantle plumes is released, which lowers the melting point of the emerging material. All right. They got off subject and got into diamonds somehow.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll go to the Primary Water Institute page, because I
Yeah.
don't think they're going to talk about diamonds. The water cycle that exists. The water cycle describes the existence and movement of water on, in, and above the Earth. Where does all the Earth's water come from? Primordial Earth was an incandescent globe made from magma, but all magma contains water, or sorry, liquid. No, water. Water set free by magma began to cool down the Earth's atmosphere until it could stay on the surface as a liquid. Volcanic activity kept and still keeps introducing water into the atmosphere, thus increasing the surface and groundwater volume of the Earth.
Hmm.
Global Resource Alliance, it says evidence. The organization working with the Hungarian water wizard, Paul,
Yeah, that's the Paul guy.
yeah, has
Yeah.
described over 80 boreholes to primary water at various depths. In Tanzania, installing hand pumps that enable villagers to have easy access to clean water that is free of disease causing microbes, parasites, and surface contaminants. Before these wells delivered primary water to the villages, women and girls were forced to walk miles in search of water that was too often unfit to drink. Carrying containers of water on their heads, sometimes women or girls were seized and killed by crocodiles at the riverbanks, and they filled containers with water, or they were attacked by rebels and bandits. Now there is safety and clean water for these villagers thanks to work from the GRA, Global Resource Alliance.
Dude, that's such a fucked up predicament. Imagine you're thirsty as fuck. You walk like a couple of miles to get some water, and a damn crocodile gets you.
Dude, or
I mean,
somebody bandits, what do they do? Steal their water? Like
probably.
what?
I'd say so.
I know they're like, I'm not walking a mile. Thanks.
Yeah, what the? That's crazy. But I think that I'll let you keep reading, but I think that to just explain it in a really simple way is that what he's saying is that we can do this on thousands of locations in the world, and what you do is just drill a hole, you get to dirt, you get through everything. If you drill deep enough, there's a huge water supply underneath, and you can build wells even in like the desert, or even in Tanzania, like he said, the places in Africa where they have no water. And then you wouldn't have to walk down to Alligatorville
Yeah.
to get snapped up by a damn crocodile, and you could just have water.
Yeah, absolutely. And clean water that doesn't even get, because a lot of the time, like he was saying, if you're in a place like Tanzania, where are you getting your water? The same places that animals, I don't know that there's water buffalo, but let's just take that, right?
Yeah,
So then there's water buffalo all drinking out of the same water and peeing and shitting right next to
yeah,
the water, and now you're scooping it out and taking it back to drink it versus, like we said, it being filtered through osmosis and then going through the
yeah,
ground, or even let's say it does not even, let's leave the evaporation out of it. Just brand new, like clean water being pumped up through the earth that's already filtered and doesn't have any bacteria, especially
yeah,
for places like that. Like that's huge. I mean,
yeah,
water is the essential for life. You can go without food for days, but you can't go without
yeah.
water for like two or three, and you're done.
That's crazy, man. And imagine being able to do that in all those places. And then, I mean, compare that to what they're doing now. You walk a few miles to get water, you survive the alligators, and you come back with, hippo liquid.
Yeah.
It's not even water, like it's
Yeah.
actually like shit filled fucking animal waters. Probably has got tons of parasites, and I'm sure they probably filter that in some way. But
You would
I mean,
hope, but
yeah, but maybe they can't,
I bet you the locals, the indigenous people in this area are probably smart enough, to at least know that, and whether the knowledge was lost or not, but to, filter it through some kind of system, I'm
Yeah,
sure. Because you could get rocks and dirt and stuff and make your own little, like, filtration
yeah, I'm sure you
system. I
could. Yeah,
think a lot of times we don't give, um, older cultures the benefit of the doubt of being like, oh, I'm sure they figured out how to not poison themselves with water,
of
you
course.
know?
Yeah, but we always make them sound so stupid
Yeah,
because
well, just with
they didn't
sticks
have
beating
email.
it together.
Yeah, no email, no Zoom calls.
Which,
Yeah, I actually saw something on. I don't know where I saw it. It was something down in Africa where a dude was. He walked like, I don't know, few k from his village, and they had trees, like huge trees that are hollow. So the trees would actually fill up with water, during rain season, or maybe I don't know if it was rain season or else it would come from the ground. So they would chop a big hole. They would climb up the tree, chop a big hole, and jump in. It was like a pool in there, and they
Wow.
would get water from a tree. Yeah, it was cool. So I mean, they know some stuff. Like
Yeah.
it's not like they're
That's, and this is another thing, but like we don't give any older culture, like, how do we think these people survive for thousands of years? You
yeah,
know what I mean? If they're so
yeah,
dumb. We're like,
without medications and without you know
exactly. They worked with the earth. Here's my thing even. Like we're like, I say this all the time. We're like, we're so advanced now, like we're such an advanced society. We have this piece of glass that plays videos in our pockets, and we can
yeah
replace a heart. And I'm like, a truly advanced society wouldn't need to replace hearts. They
yeah
wouldn't need to figure out how to stop the pollution that we're doing because they would be smart enough to work with the earth already and how
yeah
the earth, the earth's systems instead of us. Most of our society is set up fighting earth, right? Like
yeah
we're putting all these pipes in the ground to transfer water. That what happens, the pipes rot, and you know what I mean. There's just,
yeah
if you left this stuff, any of this stuff, our houses, any of it, if you leave it in 20 years, guess what? The earth is going to reclaim all this shit, and then it's going to
of
be,
course
go back to nature. So it's like, I think if you were smart enough to really work with nature and do a little bit more, even so, like our houses, right? Like they'll go back to nature, but some of it won't, because it's not
yeah.
um, natural like
I think
elements.
with time it will though.
With time, it will.
Leave it 1,000 years, 10,000 years. You wouldn't even know we were here.
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah,
I agree. But the plastic, my point is like plastic and all that stuff is much harder for the earth to break down, and we've
yeah,
put tons versus, like you're saying, if you had old societies that are doing what I'm talking about, other than their rock buildings, everything would be just totally gone. You'd have almost zero idea what even happened there.
yeah. And an interesting thing that I actually thought of, or I heard about, is you know how they say that oil is like a finite resource.
Yeah.
There's a theory about that too. That oil is actually uh shit. I'm not gonna be able to explain this in any way that makes sense. But it's like I think they were saying that oil actually is almost like an infinite resource because it kind of recycles itself. So in
But
some way, it gets back into the earth and it goes underground again.
yeah.
That's why we can collect so much of it. And that the conspiracy part of it then is that, as with everything else, they're trying to scare us into believing that we have a shortage,
So that
so they
we
can
can,
control it.
and you can
Yeah,
charge you more.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
There's just an interesting side point, but
well, that was my whole. Even with that, right? It's like fossil fuel and all the dinosaurs rotted and became
yeah.
oil. Like, and then what happened? It pooled up together. It doesn't make any sense to me either.
No,
You know.
no, I think it's all natural, man. It just comes from the planet. It's
But we
I
need to
don't know,
monetize everything, so.
of course.
All right, so since antiquity, the source of water generated deep within the earth, clearly defying the conventional scientific hydraulic cycle explanation, has been a mystery. How does one explain sources of water throughout the world that produce impressive quantities of fresh water, often in dry areas with little rainfall or at high altitudes? Besides numerous oases in Sahara, uh, Arabic Peninsula, Middle East, and the driest deserts elsewhere, and countless springs at mountaintops worldwide, there are clear examples of this phenomena which stand out, like the Anfig Spring near Damascus, the Montezuma Well in the Sonora Desert in Arizona, or the Zam Zam Well in Mecca. It seems that ancient
Mm.
civilizations had a profound understanding of this phenomenon, and moreover, a method of accurate locating of invisible underground water veins and streams. Without heavy drilling and excavating equipment, they have built impressive water supply systems all around the world more than 5,000 years ago. Ancient Persians developed the system of qanats, which eventually spread around the region and up to North Africa. The water wells of Gideon and Beersheba and huge cisterns of Masada in what is now Israel, and a total puzzle to modern hydrolysis. So I would need to look up what a cistern is. Do you know exactly what it is? I know that you
Nah.
get fresh water from it, and actually, so this house was built in like 17. The foundation was built in like 17 something.
Whoa.
So right
Isn't
where,
your country founded in 1776?
yeah, but there were people here. They just
Well,
wasn't.
yeah, no,
It
I
just
know.
wasn't
I'm just
country.
saying it's cool. Like you have a
Yeah,
house that's older than your country.
yeah.
That's fucking
Yeah,
cool.
the foundation, the bottom floor, our basement walls are like 2.5 feet thick, made of like stones that were just around here.
Oh.
So this whole area here was this was actually a basket factory downstairs, and
Oh.
the rest of the house was built in like I want to say the 40s, when they. So anyway, down here there was a sawmill right next door. This was a basket factory, and there was another building. Like this was a kind of like an industrial area. The stream over here on the side of us is lined with rocks. I want to fix it. A lot of them, the rocks had fallen in, but if you can see,
Hmm.
some of the sides of the stream are actually have rocks like perfectly stacked along the sides.
Ah.
I'm pretty sure that they had a water wheel like right over here so that they could power
Oh.
probably the factory and the
Yeah.
where they're cutting all the logs and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So there's actually a cistern for this house in the road right out front here. So if we ever
Hmm.
had any actual issue, we could dig into and we're gravel. We have gravel down here. And apparently if you dig down like a foot, there's actually cobblestones from the original road that they put in.
Oh, wow.
So we need to look up what a cistern is. That way we
And
can.
man, when talking about like water shortages, I'm sure you've seen it. Have you seen Rogan's bit on that
About what?
about water shortages?
No.
It's like an old bit from like I don't know, maybe oh, 6, 7 years ago. But he
Uh-huh.
was saying, I'm not gonna try to do the joke because I'll mess it up. But basically, he's saying, people are like, we're running out of water. We need to move to Jupiter.
Yeah.
And he's like, dude, the ocean's right there. We have a salt problem, not a water problem. Like if we pull the salt out of the water, that's perfectly fine.
Well, they like to
And
act, I've said that before with California, but then they like to
yeah,
act like it's so expensive. Like,
how could that be super? And even if it was, how does that measure like what for the climate people and all these people pushing the crazy agendas? Doesn't matter what it costs. I
yeah.
mean, if we don't have water, your money's useless. You're gonna die. Like it doesn't matter what it costs. We need water. Like it shouldn't be that hard. Like, and obviously I'm not a scientist or anything, but to pull salt or sodium out of the water, it it. I mean, if we could supposedly go to the moon, um, get some salt out of the water,
What do you mean
like.
supposedly?
Well, I definitely don't think we've been to the moon, to be honest. But
I know. There's a lot of things with that one as well.
oh yeah, we should do an episode on that one too.
Yeah. But yeah, you're right. I mean, and I've said that, and it's like all you have to do is get the water to evaporate and it'll leave the salt there. I mean, you can see that with the salt
Yeah,
flats. Why are there salt flats? Well, because there used to be salt water there, and then the water evaporated, and guess what's left? The salt. Like,
yeah,
but nobody can.
and
Elon Musk can't figure out how to get friggin' salt out of water.
exactly. And you don't. It's not like you have to empty the whole ocean. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we just need to do it somewhere so that in the places where they don't, like California, for example, that would be fucking tremendous place to try it, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure they could do it.
I mean,
It couldn't be that hard.
I think I want to say there's some cruise ships or something that desalinate water, and that's how they get their water on the ship. And I might be wrong, but I almost want to say that that's true. What is a
Whoa.
cistern? I pulled something up. A cistern is a container for collecting and storing water, and can be
Hmm.
large or small, underground or above ground, and frequently supplied by a well, spring, or rainwater, most often used for irrigation. Some cistern water systems can also supply household water. Often confused with wells, cisterns are different because their walls are always waterproof. This isn't the case with wells. Cistern water systems for domestic use work like this. Water from an outside source collects in the cistern before being piped into the household water system. So it's basically just a big bottle under the ground over there,
Yeah.
I guess, that they put. Um, so yeah, we have one of those. We need to just dig in. But again, there's right by the stream. They have two wells over there. The one of
Hmm.
them, I mean, both of them are pretty old. The one I think is the original because it's literally brick. It's like this
Oh.
big around, and it's all brick. I pulled the top off and looked, and it's just like a brick circle all the way down.
Oh.
But again, we're in an area where like it's like, because I laugh about wasting water, and I'm like, I don't know, it's gonna just go back into the cycle. It doesn't seem.
Yeah. It's really weird. Uh, the whole water shortage thing.
Uh,
Uh,
where's the primary water cycle? Is that what we were on? How long is this video that they have on the primary water cycle?
Probably long. Isn't that like a full podcast episode?
It might be.
He had a book though. You can download a free digital copy of How Primary Water Can Solve the Global Water Crises. A new magazine from the Primary Water Institute. So for anyone listening, if you go to primarywaterinstitute.org, you can get all the information there. Uh, but I mean, it's so interesting to me. It's like I've mentioned so many times. It's just like the climate people. If so, they say there's this massive crisis, and then they won't look at some of the solutions that people have.
Yeah. Well,
And
again, Coca-Cola is making billions of dollars selling people water that, guess what, came out of the ground that they just put into
yeah,
bottles, and then that's it.
yeah,
They just go to some spring and bottle the water, and then they're selling it to all of us. Like, so what's the difference between that spring, which, by the way, I mean, I'm sure there are ones all over, but here they're doing it in New York State,
mm-hmm,
which is only a couple hours away. And so,
mm-hmm.
what's the difference between that spring water and the water that's in my well right now?
Well, it would be nothing, right? I mean,
You
I'm
would
sure there are
imagine.
places where the water actually is contaminated a bit. If you're like close to some industrial stuff, or if there are places where you probably can't do that. But in general, but I guess the problem then would be if you live in the city, right?
Well, I mean, that's exactly, and those are the issues where you would need public water, you know. But I mean, would you if we really had? I mean, the public water is another one, right? They are taking your sewage and
Yeah,
then processing it, straining it, doing osmosis to the water, and then
you
evaporating the
drink it again.
water off, and then drinking it again. And then
Yeah,
they're like, hey, the water in the ground's contaminated. Yet you just took shit water and
yeah,
cleaned it for everybody and then piped it right back to their house.
yeah. And to be fair, it tastes good though. I
Does
mean, it seems like they're doing a good job cleaning it, but I don't understand why. Why would that be? Like, if this dude, the Primary Water Institute guy,
hmm
if he can make if you can drill a hole in Tanzania and get water, clean water out of the ground, why couldn't we do that in the city?
Right, that's what I'm saying. If there's
You can
access
do
to
that everywhere.
enough, yeah, and
Yeah,
you say you just had instead of it being like the shit water's running there and then they're cleaning it, what if they just drilled down to whatever the primary water and then filled up their reservoir that way?
yeah,
Wouldn't that be much better? And then the
yeah.
rest
And
of
then
the
all the shit water could evaporate in a normal
naturally,
way and act naturally and actually go through the that what he calls that this secondary water cycle is what we were taught in school, which is kind of interesting.
yeah, because
Yeah,
that's
you
what
would think
he's
you could do that everywhere then.
yeah. Yeah, I mean obviously some
Isn't that
places you
crazy?
probably need to go deeper, but
Yeah, but that's not a problem. We can drill like how far can we drill? Sure, we can drill like a kilometer. And
I'm
he was saying
sure.
on a video I saw like somewhere between 0 and 1,000 feet. Like that's and 1,000 feet. That's what 300 meters. That's a deep
Yeah.
hole, but I mean it's not. It's not going to be that deep everywhere. So if you could just find where it's not that deep, you can probably extract
Yeah.
from one point and bring that to the city. Then
It's interesting with and I'm sure it's a different thing, but it's even like so what is making that Lake Mead in Arizona, or the Hoover Dam, like they don't
Mm.
have as much water in them as what they used to have, and I don't know if that's because too many people are using the water and it can't get replenished fast enough, or if just we know the earth changes, so maybe just the water's well, even it probably might be diverted. Who knows that these assholes didn't build
Yeah,
a development and then, you know what I mean? The water's now being diverted so that it's not going through the channels that it always used to go through, and now
yeah,
that's why the stuff's not being filled up. We know
yeah.
that people don't like to pay attention to everything and try to, work with
Obviously,
nature. The only thing though with the another thing with the public water is they're putting fluoride in them, and a lot of times
yeah,
depending on where you're at, it does taste kind of chlorine.
yeah. That's what it tastes like in Australia. But that's what I like about here, because here, I swear, if you taste the water, just the tap water here, it tastes like nothing. So I actually do think that we have very clean water over here. But I also think that must be because almost all of our water is like
Yeah,
fresh water. It's
you,
not salt water.
you have a well or you have like city
A
water.
tap. Well, I live in a city, so
Oh,
yeah,
okay, well that's I didn't
yeah.
know if they still had wells or not.
Nah, nah,
Um, all right, so I'm in
yeah.
on education. If the
Mm,
subject of primary or magmatic water is of interest to you, we encourage you to do your own research and look for books published on the subject, as
yeah,
well as papers presented by researchers and the early pioneers in the field, such as the following: New Water for a Thirsty World by Michael H. Salzman. Aqua Video, locating underground water through the sensory eye of Vern L. Uh, Cameron by Vern L. Cameron. Oh, Vern L. Cameron by Vern. And then there's some others. Stephen Reese, 1898 to 1985. He lived that long? That seems
oh,
like a long time. And somebody else wrote one in 1832. And then, oh, I guess these are just their ages. He was born in 1832, died in 1901. This other guy, 1898, and died in 74. Uh, in the lithosphere of materials, chiefly water and gases such as are found in the air, are intermingled with the materials that constitute the rocks and the soil, but rock and soil, this is just a title of something. So anyway, there's a bunch of he does give you a bunch of things to go look into. I wonder, that's like where is it? I want to say Pompeii.
Mm-hmm.
There's a bunch of these old cities, like ancient cities, where they had running water just running through it. They did the aqueducts and all that.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like, what was the source of those? Are you telling me that Romans knew about primary water back at whatever? And we're
Well, I
like,
think that's what they're actually saying is that like back in whenever days they actually had, like you were saying before, like they actually knew about stuff and like so many other things. I think some people are trying to delete that part of history,
yeah.
right?
Well, and again, because you can't have all of us being self sufficient and being able to just have free water and electricity. That's if you like to me a real advanced society would be working with nature. We would be still eating mostly plants and just fruits and vegetables, not processed, just
And meat.
having all these fields growing all this stuff around us. We'd be working with primary water so that we don't have this big water system that we have here of the municipalities controlling all that stuff. And then even, about like, did we talk about the Tesla tower and
We
how
did,
he,
yeah,
he
yeah,
was harnessing energy from the ground? Like
yeah,
everything that we need is around us.
yeah.
And I think that whether you're, and even, medicines, most of these medicines are where scientists found that there was an element in nature that had such and such effect on people. So what did they do? They synthesized the element and then
And
give you that.
patented.
So
Yeah,
that
patented it so you can't,
exactly. But they've
yeah.
just separated one element out of it. And my
Yeah,
theory, even with that, is that nature's spent millions of years figuring all this stuff out. So if you look at like it's the same way like fruit juice, like orange juice. Let's take orange juice, make it simple. If you drink orange juice, you get a huge sugar spike
yeah.
because it's just that one part of the orange. Versus if you eat an orange, and I'm going to simplify it because I don't really know, but I assume there's more. But like, say you eat an orange, you have that sugar, but then the fiber helps slow down the absorption of the sugar. So now you don't get the big spike, which is a lot of that. We get big spikes. Our body creates insulin. We become insulin resistant because we're dumping so much in all the time. So
Yeah.
if you have it with the fiber, that slows it down. I would imagine there are other elements, nutrients in the orange that probably also work with the sugar and the fiber and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
it's the same thing with these medicines. We're taking some element from something natural and then we're just synthesizing, patenting it, synthesizing it, and then giving people just an influx of this one thing. Whereas you probably need the other stuff with it so that it works correctly and doesn't, make your body go crazy because your body's always trying to get homeostasis where all of your
Yeah.
systems are kind of imbalanced. Well, why would we think flooding yourself with one element specifically is going to be any good? It
Yeah.
it seems
Yeah.
like nature figured it out.
Yeah. I mean, I think we've been told that, one thing that bothers me a lot talking about this is that people say, "Oh, you want to go back to the Stone Age where people lived to like 35," but they don't take into consideration that it's mostly babies that died. That's what brings the number down.
I know. I've
It's
had
not
this
that. It's not that.
conversation with people.
Yeah, it's crazy. And to me, I'm like, I don't know. I mean, you can still go to, tribes out in the jungle or on an island, and they're like 80, 90-year-old people who look tremendously fit.
Well, that's the big difference, right? Say we live to 80 or 90. The
Yeah.
last like 10 years of your life is you barely being able to be coherent or get around or any of that stuff. And that's not how people in those tribes were. They would function right up until something would happen and then they get sick and die, or you know what I mean? Something gives out, kidneys, whatever. But like,
Yeah.
we just like have a long decline to death here in the Western, society where we're just
Yeah.
like Alzheimer's, dementia,
Yeah.
arthritis, all that stuff is things that other societies that live how we're talking about they didn't have that issue.
No. Here it's like you die when you're 80, but we bury you when you're 90.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like
exactly.
for a lot of people. And another part of it that I think is killing us is that uh, at least here, I don't know. First, if you go back to like I don't know when it was, but when women started working more,
Mhm.
and the theory behind that is that they were like, well, if only half the people are working, we can only tax half the people. So if women are working too, we can tax them also, and they have to leave their kids at a school where we can teach them whatever we want.
Yeah.
But like just in general, the family structures today compared to like because they used to it takes a village to raise a child, right? Literally, that's what they did. Fathers would go off and hunt, collect food, or go to war or whatever, and the whole village would take care of the kids. Like no one, it seems to me, anyways, logically, that no one was lonely in the same way that we are now.
Yeah.
And you look at the people who are living here. Look at the old people; they have no one to care for them, no family, and even if you have family, like your kids and grandkids, they're all working full time.
Right.
They're all out hustling, so you're left just by yourself. And I think loneliness is definitely one of the things that contribute the most to aging, to dementia, and stuff like this. It's not good how we set it up. I think. I
No.
mean, we do have. It sounds like we're bashing the whole modern world, and I'm really not because we do have a lot of good stuff too.
Yeah.
But a lot of shit seems backwards to me.
We got two people on. We got Ryan Swayze and Nick Gore watching live on YouTube.
What's up, Ryan? And what was it, Nico?
Nick. Yeah, Nick says
What's
oil
up,
is
Nick?
unlimited and it's not made up of dino bones. Nick is one of my
Yes, thank
good
you,
friends.
Nick. He's the new scientist of the show.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nick.
Um and Ryan says he's loving the live show. You guys
Awesome,
should talk
Ryan.
about Trump going to jail and what that means. I know, I was thinking about that. I was like, that's a hot button right now. Um,
I
but
haven't really. I mean, I've seen stuff, but I'm in Sweden. I'm not too read up on that. So I mean, we could talk about it if you want,
well, what will
and I can comment.
yeah. Um, well, that whole thing is a friggin' circus.
Maybe we should do a whole episode on that one.
Yeah, I think that's its own. We need to dive into it and do its own episode because that is definitely a rabbit hole in itself.
Yeah, maybe
Um,
next week.
yeah, for sure. Um,
So
yeah, so I just think I understand and I agree with you, and that our society is pretty good now. As far as for the most part, there's not barbarians running around killing everybody
yeah,
or whatever, and we have nice houses and everybody's comfortable. But we've definitely made an unsustainable environment, right? Like
yeah,
right now, the amount I go to the store and I go to buy meat, and a lot of the meat is shipped from Australia.
yeah. What the fuck is that
What
about?
are we doing shipping meat from halfway across the globe? Does that
Yeah,
not seem weird? Like, and then all these climate people, right? We're like, oh, we're worried about the environment and this and that. Why are we shipping avocados from Mexico or Ecuador to New Jersey?
yeah. Not only that, you know what they do? I saw this. There was a package of like let's say apples. I can't remember what it was. It was like apples from Brazil shipped then to Thailand for packaging,
Oh yeah, and then ship back.
and then it was shipped back. And actually, I'm happy there's a couple of people watching. If you're kind of conspiracy minded and you're if you've been looking at the climate stuff, being from Sweden, I can speak on this. And this is just a really funny side note. But you know Peppa the pig?
Yeah,
Yeah, in Swedish, her name is Greta Gris, which means Greta the pig.
that's
So
hilarious.
yeah, it's so funny to me. I just started calling her Greta Gris, and I don't know. It's just to me. So I live in Sweden, right? We have basically from I'd say October, November till like now, it's winter time. We got snow from probably depending on the year, but it could be from October all the way. We still have snow now. We're just going into spring. To me, I'd be cool with not having oranges for 6 months.
I was just gonna say that when
You
we
know what I
were
mean?
talking. Yeah,
I
when I was
yeah,
saying that, I was like, you maybe we don't have avocados in the winter because they're not shipped
yeah,
from Mexico. I would
yeah.
even
Maybe you'd
venture.
fucking appreciate them then when you had them too.
I would even venture to say this, and I've thought about this for a long time. In nature, right, you're going to encounter certain foods at certain times of year.
Yeah,
And you're going to, when you encounter them, like, so you're spring or whatever, fall time, let's say, you run into a bunch of berries, blueberries. So what do? You eat a shitload of blueberries. And
yeah,
then the rest of the time, you don't have any blueberries. I would almost imagine that we're supposed to flood ourselves with certain nutrition, certain things at certain times. We probably would end up working better if we worked within the systems of, when things grow. I'm sure that to some extent we're actually made to work like that. One of the
yeah.
guys, do you know that? I think we've talked about that, Paul Saladino, the carnivore
Oh yeah,
MD.
carnivore diet. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So his whole thing with even the fat, like they sell Fire Starter, which is just fat from it's stearic acid, which is animal fat.
Mm,
So he's like, when you eat that, it's basically signaling to your body that you guys have just made a kill, and you guys are in abundance right now. You have all this meat. So your body actually relaxes and gets rid of fat because it's like, we don't need to hold on to all this
mm.
because we have enough food.
Uh,
Whereas when you eat seed oils and stuff and you have omega 6s, um,
yeah,
it actually signals your body to hold on to fat. Because why? When would you eat nuts and seeds and stuff like that? In the fall.
yeah.
That's when all that stuff becomes ripe. So now you're going to eat that. It's signaling to your body, hey, fall or winter is coming. We need to pack on as much as we can so we can survive during the winter.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it makes sense. Look at animals. I mean, I'm not saying that we're the same, but look at what does bears do? They
Yeah.
eat a shit ton of food before they go into hibernation for like whatever 5 months. I mean, and I'm not saying that we're supposed to do that, but it just makes sense to me. And even it would sound crazy coming from someone who lives in Sweden because that means all I could eat in wintertime is basically deer, like animals and fish.
Yep.
But it makes complete sense. And honestly, if we just magically had a reset where it's like, okay, everyone just eats whatever they can find in their land, I would be completely cool with that.
Yeah. Well,
Like, give me a gun and I'm
yeah.
not a hunter, but I could learn.
Well, the issue is that we're just so dependent on all this, like, or we're just too used to being comfortable, right? Like,
Yeah,
so what? You don't have avocados for a couple of months.
I don't get it.
So
But
what?
isn't
You
that
don't have
like,
watermelon. Like, you're not supposed to.
yeah. But isn't that funny? Like, just in general, though, like, I'll be hanging out with my friends, and let's say we meet up somewhere, and we're like, let's go for some dinner. Let's go eat something. And some of them will stand there debating which one to go to, and I'm like, just take the closest one. It's not poison; it's food.
Yeah.
Like let's just go to one. But a lot of people these days are so damn picky about what they eat. Like, I mean, and I'm not saying quality wise. I'm just saying like oh, I don't feel like having sushi today,
Yeah.
so I might walk another block to get some pasta. And we're so spoiled with all this stuff. And I'm just like, dude, actually, just yesterday, because I saw a guy who's like a carnivore dude, and he said he was doing carnivore before it became like a thing. He didn't even know about it, but all he was eating was minced meat. And he's like a bodybuilder type
Yeah.
dude, like not a professional, but like he's jacked.
Yeah.
And I was like, I did the maths on it. I was like, if I buy only minced meat and I eat like 2 kilos a day, I think I'd actually save money
Yeah.
if I eat nothing else. Like, and I would actually not mind. Like, and then you can have a cheat day on Sunday, or whatever, and have a beer and whatever you want. But like, and I think that'd be way healthier too than what you're eating right now.
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah.
They, yeah, it's crazy, dude. Even, we do basically mostly, steaks and stuff like that. And
Mhm.
even a steak, right? You get a nice sized steak. I can get like 2 meals out of it a lot of times because you get satiated from it versus eating,
Yeah.
and then you're full for a longer amount of time,
Yeah.
versus if you eat a lot of, this processed food or even just carb heavy food, you basically burn through it faster. That's why these people that are on these diets are like, oh my God, I'm so hungry, because they're eating
Yeah.
high caloric foods with little bits of nutrition. So your body's not even being like, we're filled up with nutrition. It's just like
Yeah.
you're full volume wise, and then your body's looking for more nutrients still. And
Yeah.
that's the cycle of all these diets and all these new foods, is that you're not full for very long, so then you need to eat more often. Now that I eat steak, I eat less times a day, or if I'm not able to eat, like, I don't get as ravenous hungry as I used to
Yeah.
eating processed stuff. I would just be like, oh my God, I'm so hungry, I can't even take it.
Yeah.
But now it's
Well, it
like,
makes sense. Dude, like, I mean, I've looked a lot at because I'm into just like you, into health and fitness and stuff like this. If you look at all the diets that come out, they're like, these things that pop up. Oh, the 5-2 diet is the new thing. How to lose weight on the 5-2 diet. What they all have in common is they reduce the amount of calories you eat.
yeah,
So like my dad did the 5-2 diet
what
and
is
he lost
that?
a bunch of. So it's basically if you take the week, you have to pick 2 days out the week where you can only have, I think it's something like 300 or 500 calories.
Hmm.
So on those 2 days, he would eat like 3 eggs, and that's all he could eat. Um, and he thought that was some special method that because it's 5-2, it's not 4-3, or it's not this or that. And I explained to him, I was like, but dude, all you're doing is fasting. You're eating less
Hmm.
calories. That's the reason you're losing weight. Does the same with, like, if you go on carnivore diet, a lot of people lose a lot of fat because if you cut out like what normal people eat, probably 70% carbs, you
Yeah.
cut that shit out, it's going to be hard to, and also you stay satiated for a longer time. It's the same with all the diets. Hell, you could lose weight eating only donuts, but you can only eat 2 donuts every day
Right.
and nothing else. It's
And
super simple, but then it's like quality of food as well.
well, you're losing weight, but is it, you know what I mean? At that point, you're
You're still
probably,
gonna feel shit if you're
exactly.
eating shit. You're still gonna feel shit, but like to me, it just makes sense. If you want to stay in shape or lose weight, eat a lot of protein, and protein is actually the one out of the three micronutrients that keeps you what's the word, satiated,
Satiated, yeah.
the best. So if you're eating a lot of eggs, a lot of steak, a lot of meat, you will not be hungry and you won't have to eat as much.
Yeah.
It's just, to me, that's super simple, but they try to push, eat these protein bars that are made out of fucking wheat and all the all the stupid stuff. Also, I think a lot of people on that weight topic, uh, because I heard on a short podcast, there was a guy who was like 500 pounds, and he was asking the dude they were interviewing, because he's a fitness guy. He's like, "Be honest, like, what am I? I want to lose weight. What do I do?" He's like, "Go hungry." And he actually said, you know, I don't even, because the dude was saying like, I just feel hungry all the time, and then the other guy said, I don't think so. I think you're just bored. I don't think you've been hungry for the last 20 years, like actually hungry. And I think he's got a good point, man.
Yeah.
That's what I do. When I'm bored, I eat.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
know, another thing, even on this one, well, I guess we're kind of going back to water, but
Yeah, yeah.
um, if sometimes when you get hungry, drink a bunch of water
Yeah.
because sometimes that will. It's like your stomach's empty or something, and that'll take the edge off, and then you're like, oh, I'm not really that hungry, or maybe it is even your body
Yeah.
just being like, we need more water. I'm
Could
not
be.
really
Yeah,
sure.
could be. Yeah.
Um,
Well, also just be hungry.
yeah.
It's not dangerous. Just be hungry. Like I mean, it's not comfortable, but like that, the feeling goes away.
Well, I think that's what leads people to. The thing is, if you're I think it's hard, especially if you're eating the processed stuff. You know, I think you
Yeah.
become so hungry and you're so hungry all the time, and that's why people go off the rails and end up eating stuff that they shouldn't eat. Whereas
Yeah.
if you're eating fats and steaks and stuff like that, then you kind of, your body is more just like, I even have a theory that bodybuilders get so ripped because they're depleting themselves of minerals and nutrients. Because they
Yeah,
go
they are.
just straight chicken breast and
Yeah.
broccoli with nothing on it, right?
Yeah.
Well, now you're not getting a ton of vitamins and minerals that your body needs. And I almost think that's what drives them out so much is that their body is literally sucking up all the nutrients from every place it can get to try and
Yeah.
feed itself, and that's why they, shrivel up
Yeah.
that much. I, I'm
Well, if you,
almost, I'm almost
yeah.
tempted to try and just eat like super cut down on carbs and just eat steaks and see if you could even get lean like they, you know what I mean? Like I don't want to obviously go to 6% body fat and be in a contest,
Yeah.
but my point is, if you ate like that, could you get that lean eating steaks and
Uh,
stuff?
if you do like Liver King and drink, bull piss, but even that Saladino guy, he's pretty ripped.
Yeah. And there's
I
another guy,
mean,
even Mark Hyman, I think is
Mark
his.
Smelly Bell.
No,
No.
just another doctor, and he's like
Oh, okay.
60, but he's not like jacked or anything, but he's like thin and ripped, and his
Yeah.
whole thing is just whole foods, fruits and vegetables and stuff like that, and steaks.
Yeah.
Um, it's funny all these other people that are like nutrition whatever, and then they're not. You're like, would you want their physique? No. So what the hell are we doing here? Like, what is
Yeah.
going on?
Yeah, it's super funny. It's like going into the gym and you have a PT who's like
Yeah.
overweight, and you're like, what the?
Yeah. They're like,
Makes
I
no sense.
understand the science of it. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah. But it's the same with doctors though.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I don't know. A lot of just some common sense will get you to a good place, man. And if you really want to get healthy, I mean, these days it's so easy to find good information. And just try whatever makes you feel good.
That's the thing is
Except chocolate though. Like if it because that makes you feel good. You can still have it, but maybe not eat it every day.
yeah. Well, if you can,
Yeah.
and even if you're gonna do chocolate, just get like super dark chocolate, like
It tastes
mostly.
like shit though.
I mean, we have some dark chocolates, like 85% cacao.
Yeah,
Um,
we have them too. You
yeah,
like them?
yeah. I mean, and again, all of this stuff I think is probably getting used to things
Yeah.
more because we've had such hyper sweet, palatable,
Mm.
chocolate and stuff that it was a little bit. We kind of whittled our way down. You know what I mean? From like
Yeah. Of
down.
course.
So, but now I'm used. Now I like them, and now if you gave me a piece of Hershey's chocolate, I'd be like, oh
Mm.
my god, it tastes like just straight sugar.
That's so interesting because I felt this. I went on a keto diet years ago for like 5 months. I was pretty strict. Or I won't call it keto. I'll call it low carb. But after doing that, if I had like a soda,
Yeah.
it was. I mean, I never liked soda, anyways, but it was so sweet. I couldn't even drink it. It was
Yeah.
just weird, dude. On that, actually, I meant to get back to this. Uh, so I saw something years ago. There was like an article. It was something on Facebook, I think, where there was a guy in the States, and they made a whole article about it. He said, "I'm only gonna drink water for 30 days." Like he could eat too, but the only beverage he could
Oh.
have was water, like an experiment.
Yep.
And it made me think, what in the fuck are you guys drinking anyways? Like
Yeah.
water is all I ever drank. Like I never had anything else. Like I mean, obviously we have everything here, but like the standard for everyone here, I think, is water. We drink water all day.
See, there's a lot of. Where was the guy from? America?
Yeah, somewhere in America.
Dude, people here will literally mostly drink soda or like sweet tea, which is like, brewed tea, but then they dump
They
like,
put sugar.
dude, like a cup of sugar for a
Ugh.
friggin' gallon or something. Like it's something ridiculous. Yeah, like it's
Yeah.
so sweet that you're just like, oh my god. So it's just the amount of liquid calories that these people are consuming. I mean, I know tons of people. Somebody I was just with was like, "Oh, I stopped drinking sodas now. I just drink water." And it's like, and he's like, "I'm a different person. This and that, like all this stuff that has changed with him." Because,
Yeah.
again, it's like I was talking about the orange juice, and it's just liquid calories. It's got no fiber. It's got nothing else with it. And it's just like dumping sugar in, and then your body just freaks out.
But it's crazy to me that someone could live a life where the standard beverage is like a Coke.
Yeah.
To me, that is wild. Like I remember seeing that story from maybe 8 years ago because I thought it was that crazy. Like, how can you only drink sodas? And also, what are you, a child? Like, I don't know. Like, to me, that's the way I look at it. It's just like you drink only like you need flavor for everything that you eat.
Yeah.
Like, okay, that children like sodas and candy and stuff like that. I eat candy too, but like not like that on a daily basis
Right.
all the time. Like, it's super crazy.
Well, that's even the supermarket. Once you start to realize what stuff is, and you go into the supermarket and you realize that 90% of the shit in the supermarket is basically poison. It's either just loaded with sugar or preservatives or carbs, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah.
Um, all right, well, we're at an hour. Everybody, we've given you enough ammo to go and search for primary
Yeah, we got
water.
yeah.
Try to.
We got way off topic there, but primary, is there anything else we want to bring up before we let it go? The primary water thing?
Um, I don't know. Right now, I just got all the links in front of me. I don't know. I mean, not really. Just that, we'll have to get somebody that knows about it. Again, I think that's where we take it further, is getting the primary
Yeah.
water guy on, so that way we can get some more insight into it. But yeah, I mean, I think it's the whole point of this one is basically like, again, is there stuff being hidden from us where the way we have our society set up is like just for money versus, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
working with nature and being able to supply everybody with clean water for free? Because that's,
Yeah.
we have this crisis of everybody being, and I don't know how it is there, but here, when you go to do your, go to get water set up at your house, they do a credit check. It's like one of electricity and water are the hardest to get turned on because they like check your credit, they do all this shit, and I'm like, some people can't afford it. They can't get the water put in their name because they don't have enough credit. Like, are we crazy? This the essential of water. You're gonna be like, oh, your credit's not good enough to be able to have running water in your house.
Yeah, that's we don't do that here. I'm pretty sure that everyone here, unless you're homeless, but even then, even if you're homeless, you can get water.
Yeah,
Like here, there's no on electricity and water. I don't think there's any rules like that. They don't check anything. It's like we still have that as like a human right to have water,
that's what you
and
would think.
it should be. I know in I because I work with actually one of my best friends, and I can tell the whole story in a different episode. But he moved to Sweden when the whole COVID, the pandemic thing hit, because he's from Ireland, and he was telling me about how they actually tried to privatize water in Ireland, and the people actually stood up and said "fuck you," so they stopped it.
Huh.
Yeah, but it's crazy that they even proposed that idea, like to put a tax on water or to like have a company own all the water. I
Right,
guess they already
exactly.
do because it's the government. They could literally shut down the water anytime they wanted, but still, like I don't know, it's a crazy world.
Yeah, I think if you're gonna talk about human rights and all that and push for all this stuff, you gotta provide everybody with water and electricity.
Yeah, simple as that.
Yeah, those two things, and then the
Yeah,
rest, figure out. But they
yeah,
they want to make like health care or insurance is a human right. No, water and freaking electricity is what
yeah,
everybody need over any of the other stuff.
yeah. But
It
the
does.
electricity one is sketchy though, because electricity they can always control.
Yeah,
But because I saw something on that which was kind of smart. They're getting rid of gas, not only for cars, but for like a gas stove, even.
yeah.
Like I think in the UK, they're actually going to people's houses and shutting down the gas in their house because they can. If you have gas, they can't control it.
Wow.
But with
Yeah.
the electricity, they can control everything. I saw something. Apparently, they're doing it here in Sweden. They're building a road and underneath the asphalt, they're putting some electronic stuff underneath that charges your car as you go. So your car wouldn't even need batteries.
Awesome.
So you could, yeah, but that also means they can shut that
Mm,
fucking road down at any time and say, hey, you spent all your climate credits this month. You're not going anywhere. Fuck
yeah.
you. You know what I mean? So it's like the electricity part of it with like the electric cars, the electric everything is a very dangerous path if you look a little bit further.
Yeah. For sure. And
Yeah.
even our cars now though they could control if they wanted to. I would say even like my truck is a 2015. There's enough electronics in that thing where they could just shut you
Yeah,
off if they
probably.
wanted to.
Yeah, I'd say so. But it'd be easier for them if everyone had a Tesla and
Yeah.
if the actual roads are electronic as well. And you can't like it's like the 15-minute cities they're building now. Like
Well,
you
even with
can't actually leave the city.
yeah, and with the electric roads, right? Just say they're like road is closed. They just
Yeah,
switch that
yeah,
whole road off, and then you're just like
yeah. Yeah. And
can't.
imagine then they say road is closed for your area because you guys didn't help climate enough. And then another month passes and then next month they say, "Hey, we're going to shut off the water because you guys are still not, you know, helping the climate enough."
Yeah,
I mean, the more control you give to the government and to the it's not really even the government, it's the you know who it is. It's the demons. We all know who the demons are.
yeah,
but but it's just I don't know. I hate the the thought of having a small group of people controlling everything, which they already are
yeah.
basically, and it's just getting worse. But I'm happy a lot of people are actually waking up to it and standing up. Um, yeah,
Well, that's why they're trying to keep us divided so that everybody can't be like push back and be like, hey,
yeah. But
you
look
know,
at France. Have you seen it?
oh yeah,
I think it was 9 million people out on the streets. They're burning down the country, like for good reason too.
Well, at least they got on the same page.
Yeah, on that particular
Yeah.
thing. But it's like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's so hard when all the mainstream media is controlled, and the information that people get is so widely spread.
Yeah.
Yeah, and who's to say I'm right or you're right? Maybe we're wrong too.
Yeah, for
Maybe
sure.
we'd be better off owning nothing. We'd be happy.
Maybe. Although so
Probably
far,
not.
I'm not a fan of people telling me what to do, so I can't
Me
imagine that
too.
I would be pumped on
Yeah. You
that.
still have people watching, actually?
They took off.
They took off. All right.
Yeah.
They'll come back.
They're coming back. All right, well, let's wrap this one up on primary water. Yeah, so just do your own research. Go to, what is it? PrimaryWaterInstitute.org, and they have tons of links to all kinds of other people's articles and videos and everything else. And then maybe you can drill a big hole in your backyard and then make your own water well.
Hopefully, man. It doesn't help that their webpage looks kind of crappy, though. It looks
Yeah.
like it's from the 90s. But still
Because they're not
some
backed by a bunch of people with money making fancy websites.
I guess it wouldn't be that expensive to make a nice website, though. But still, I mean, they're doing a good thing. I think if what they're saying is true, then I mean, they're drilling holes, they're building wells for people in countries where they don't have water. So I mean, it's if that's the case, then that's fantastic, and we should definitely look into that more.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. Leave your comments. Thanks for everybody that showed up and watched. And like I said, any other things that you want us to cover, let us know, message us, and then we will do some research and talk about that.
Yep.
All right.